Welcome to Voyage of the Geek for another week, 12th of October 2017. Joining me as always, Dan Miller,
Hello, hello.
Tom McGill.
Yep.
My name's Dave Scotland, and when we pull our fingers out, we get together and we dribble on about sci-fi, cultish type cinema, geeky, nerdy stuff, and anything that crosses our path. Now we're going to fight all urges to discuss in any way, shape or form the Star Wars trailer that dropped yesterday or the day before. We may, if we at the end of the podcast, maybe spend 2 minutes on some initial thoughts of and we're talking of course of the up and coming Star Wars 8.
I know people who are refusing to watch that trailer.
I think Dan, you
spoilers. No spoilers.
I usually don't watch the spoiler.
But you did.
No, I didn't.
Oh,
no.
Okay, well,
so
we might not be able
You
to
might
talk
take off
about
your
it.
headphones then, and you might step outside.
We'll give you some thinking music while
Yeah,
we discuss.
yeah.
But, of course, this evening we're talking about a film that I can honestly say probably influenced me to take the career that I've taken as much as Star Wars. Especially my interest in Star Wars made me very interested in visual effects, but this film made me very interested in digital visual effects, way more than Tron. And of course, I'm talking about The Last Starfighter, the 1984 sci-fi classic, and definitely a classic. So, gentlemen, tell me. Tom, kick off and tell me your first memories of your earliest memories of The Last Starfighter.
My earliest memories are from a book that I had as a child. Before
Really?
I'd seen the movie, I had the book, which is a big, maybe big-sized hardcover book, but only about 40 pages, 30, 40 pages. It's one of those, photos, screen shots from the movie with a bit of text suitable for a 13-year-old boy.
Written by Batul?
Don't know.
The same guy that...
I wish I had it here. I would have brought it in and put it on the desk, but it's on the other side of the planet at the moment.
So when did you find the film?
Don't remember. Probably in the late 80s, early 90s. It's not a movie that I saw at the cinema. And I liked the book. I loved the graphics of the spaceships, and I thought I have to see this film. I have to see how they how they move. So at some point on VHS at a friend's house, I would have watched it. No, I don't remember ever seeing it on television. But I watched it with some friends on VHS.
Dan?
I'm not sure where I first saw it, to be honest with you. I think it would have been at the cinema. I probably would have seen it at the cinema.
Nobody can prove you otherwise, so we don't have to pretend like we don't remember.
Yes, let's
you could
pretend.
just say, well, yeah, definitely. I saw the premiere.
It was
shook hands.
It was the red carpet event.
Yes.
Yes, I had a bucket of popcorn and
There was me, Madonna, and
yeah, Elvis.
Willie Nelson.
So I don't quite remember where it was, but it's, as I was saying to you the other day, it's a movie that always stuck with me.
Yeah.
So I just loved the idea because I was playing computer games on my Commodore 64 in the lounge room after school or whatever.
Yeah. And it was a cut above the computer games that we were seeing at the time, obviously. We weren't that far out of Pong at that stage, and this thing was just stunning.
Yeah. So it really stuck with me. And the basic premise of it, it's computer game guy saves the universe. That's like
it could
awesome.
happen. It could happen to any of us.
Yeah, that's right.
All we got to do is take our 20-cent pieces down the down the shop.
Yeah, and just keep trying machines until the aliens
and then the
turn
alien will turn up.
So big impression on me. And I loved all of the graphics, and I loved the spaceship, and all of that. What about yourself?
For me, it was a VHS discovery. It was around that time, around the mid '80s to sort of early to mid 80s, is when a VHS machine, a videotape machine, was finding its way into everybody's house, and eventually every kid in the neighbourhood had one sitting under their television, and this film was around that time. So there's a handful of films. Krull was another one that was just watched on loop forever. You know, it might have spent a month sitting in the video player, and if you felt like watching a movie, you just press play, and it was this thing. And I can honestly tell you that I don't think I've ever put it on and not wanted to watch it. I've watched it through every time, and I can't say that about every film. Sometimes I think I feel like a film, but I fall out of interest very quickly, or even commit to half of it and then fall out of interest. But I always watch this thing all the way through. It is quite a quick film. You know, they don't stop off on the side of the road too often. You know, it's boom, boom, boom. The beats are really quite quickly, and it's interesting throughout the whole thing. And there's obviously some kind of narrative. There's some kind of narrative familiarity there. You know, it's the Arthur tale. You know, it's there is a hero's journey here, and yeah. So I never tire of it. So as we normally do, we like to dive into the narrative of the piece.
Stop off at the poster first.
Oh yes. Well, this is one of them. Let me throw up a couple of other posters that, and so as we click through
this
these,
one has Saturn in the background for some reason, which confuses me.
Oh, they seem to use it
They do
a
go
couple
past
of times.
Saturn.
I think the jump
They
gate.
fly
is
past
that-
Saturn,
They
but
fly
why
past
would they
Saturn.
put that in the...
Well, there's the road. It goes past Saturn, turns right.
Oh, the sparkling road.
yeah.
You might be right.
Now, I would have put the Frontier in there, this big network of spaceships. Nobody would have known what it is when you're looking at the poster, but for the first time. But yeah, anyway.
They wanted to use the planet, which is...
Yeah, there you go. This has kind of got it. Sorry.
that, what's the alien planet called that there?
Rylos.
Rylos, yeah.
So when the movie opens, the Universal logo, which Universal logo has the planet Earth rotating, they wanted to put Rylos in there. But Universal was against it.
Oh, really?
My precious logo.
They don't just let anyone do that. Like Spielberg, I think, used to do that a bit, didn't he? He used to use the, is it the Paramount?
The mountain.
The Mountain.
Yeah.
He used it at the start of Indiana Jones.
did he?
I know he used it. I think he might have used it at the start of the Crystal Skull. But yeah, I think he's used it a couple of times as the backdrop. Oh, no, it's definitely Raiders of the Lost Ark. Right at the very start.
Maybe, yeah.
We sort of see the Paramount Mountain dissolve into the exact same mountain with jungle all around it.
Yes, I remember
He's
that.
hacking his way
Yep,
through that.
I remember.
That jungle. So yes, this one rings a bell for a lot of people with the ominous-looking alien in the poster, and for many people, they would have not known that he turns out to be a good guy.
That always reminds me of Enemy Mine, that picture. A little bit,
Very
because
much
there's
so.
the two.
Yeah,
alien
What is that
reptile-
up in the top corner there?
that is the scepter
The scepter, yeah. Which is also a
with
weapon.
the dagger in it.
Why did they put that in
I
the
don't
poster?
know. I don't know. Maybe whoever was doing the poster was in the prop section and said, "Is this a spaceship?"
It looks like a spaceship
it's like
because it has exhausts on the right.
Does it actually have exhaust coming out the back?
It looks like it does.
Yeah, it looks like
It
they
does.
pulled a bit out here. Maybe it was originally supposed to be a spaceship, and then they turned it into a scepter.
Or maybe in the next movie, you were going to go and find the big boss's spaceship, and it turns out to look exactly like his scepter, or he's got his mini. That's totally bizarre. They've got a rocket coming out of the back of a prop that was a handheld device used by the... That's very bizarre.
Now, what we're looking at here is, let me see if I can maybe stop moving around.
And that's wrong. The star. What does that say? You're closer. Starlight. Starbright.
Starbright. So
Because it was Starlight, Starbright.
I thought it was both
Yes.
names. Yeah.
This is a travesty.
It is a travesty. And what you're looking at is the theatrical poster. And you can tell that the studio was maybe a little bit unsure as to how the crowd would react to this, because look at the blurb.
Yes, I know. It's a short novel put there.
Like, there is a tagline that says he's got one extraordinary chance at the dream of a lifetime. And that's
What?
not the tagline
No.
that they put on the DVD or the home rental.
It's not a bad line.
No, that's much worse.
But they've included in Alex Rogan is a small town teenager with big time dreams of college, of success, of marrying his girlfriend.
Mowing the lawn.
Exactly.
yeah.
That's paragraph
Dreams
one.
of tax income,
Trade routes.
trade routes.
It is quite literally a Star Wars crawl in length on the poster. So that's one of the posters, but we also have this one, which is more common early on. So that's the VHS.
Starfighter.
You can't even make out the word last. Maybe it's up there. It's a pretty poor.
It
and that's
might
got all the
not.
spaceships in the background.
Pretty
That's a
poor
much
image.
better.
Well,
Yeah.
this
Much better
film was
image.
called Starfighter in some countries.
Was it really?
So maybe this is not maybe this is the, this is an overseas poster.
It could be, yeah. It could be a foreign poster. This is the 25th anniversary, which would have been a DVD release.
DVD, Blu-ray.
Well, it probably would have been Blu-ray, wouldn't it? Because that would have been 2009. Does that sound right? 25th?
Yes.
Don't know if I like that one, actually.
No, I don't really like that one either. This one's not too bad. It's sort of... they've changed the tagline. This is the one that we remember, which is, he didn't find his dreams found him.
Ah, that's the stuff.
That's nice.
But the scepter is still in that one as a spaceship. And then there's... you got the girlfriend there and the caravan park in the background. So there's a lot of visual cues there. And then this one is one that a lot of people... and it's similar to the one I had up at the start, which
That's the cover of my book.
Is it?
That's what my book looks like.
Oh, maybe that is the book.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I've definitely seen this poster quite a bit. And so there's a few variations of the poster. So, the narrative. Dan likes to lead us on a journey through the narrative, through the narrative beats of the film. Spoiler alert, we're about to spoil the whole film for you.
Yes. But
but-
we promise to be slightly confusing.
Yeah.
And not necessarily in
Yeah,
chronological
you can't
order.
trust us.
Yes, I don't trust us.
And there's
So that's
spurious
your-
information
Yeah, that's right.
dabbled in around it.
Truth is...
We would like to say that we watch the film so you don't have to, but you probably should anyway.
yes, particularly
'Cause
on
we,
these...
we might
these-
get it wrong and fuck it up.
Yes.
So yes, we're going to step through the narrative, and Dan is our master of ceremonies with all things narrative. So where to first?
All right. So yeah, we'll just kind of walk through the main beats and just sort of check out how it goes. And yeah, you guys jump in with crazy stuff that you guys have found out about it. All right. So it starts off in the Sleepy Trailer Park. Now here's a question: why is it in a trailer park?
Big.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, no,
Go
finish your
ahead.
sentence.
I was just going to expand on the question as opposed to being somewhere else.
Well, the original script was somewhere else. It was Suburbia.
Yes.
And then Steven Spielberg did a lot of stuff in Suburbia with little people doing big
Who
stories.
wanted to go home?
Yeah, that too. E.T. was when was E.T.? Just
82,
a couple
I
of years,
think.
82 years before
Yeah,
that, and
yeah.
so that was getting a bit too close. The was it the production designer
Ron Cobb.
Ron Cobb, who was working with Steven Spielberg and developing a story, which ultimately then turned into E.T. But
Mhm.
at that time, Ron Cobb was no longer on the project.
Ron Cobb, by the way, is the art director on this film.
Yeah.
But also was a concept artist on Raiders of the Lost Ark, Aliens, Star Wars, A New Hope.
right.
So he was in the art department for just about any.
He started at Walt Disney as an in-between
It's crazy.
artist.
It's crazy. His portfolio is just incredible. It's like he
right.
didn't pick a bad film
No.
to work on.
He designed Conan's costume and Conan's sword.
He was the
Oh, right,
production designer on.
Yeah.
So he was like the biggest production kahuna
Mm-hmm.
on Conan the Barbarian,
Yeah.
which is a stunningly beautiful thing to look at for a barbaric land.
Mm-hmm.
He got it bang on the money, didn't he? So yes, sorry.
He designed the Hammerhead character. The
What in Star
Oh, in
Wars?
Star Wars.
the
No,
guy in
did
the
he?
cantina. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
right.
That we later learnt in the Clone Wars cartoon series that they released in between episode 2 and 3,
Mm-hmm.
that race of alien has such an incredible booming voice
Mm-hmm.
that it knocks things over. Like it's a weapon.
All right.
Yeah. It's like, there's-
Where's their mouth?
yeah, I think it's down underneath the big
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
If you go to
'Cause there's a
Rocco's
Jedi
website,
one.
you get all his portfolio stuff, and he shows the picture of the character
Oh,
with
yeah, cool.
all the biography next to it. This
Oh,
is
yeah,
an
cool.
underwater creature, and it breezes through these gills, and back there is his brain.
Yeah.
So it explains the whole thing.
Yeah.
But none of that, of course, made it into Star Wars canon.
No. Well, they dug him out for the Clone Wars cartoon series because he was a great character. He was the Jedi because he was a Jedi in that episode, and he was saving the Emperor. And him and another Jedi were saving the Emperor, and there was all these scenes of jumping really incredibly fast-moving trains and things like that, and there was a fight. Grievous was chasing them all about. This is all on Coruscant, and obviously they lose because the Emperor gets taken up onto the ship. But we're talking about a different film. The trailer park locale.
Yeah. So it's a good character introduction thing.
It's a good mini community.
Yeah,
So you
it's
can
mini
show
community.
that these are people that live together, help each other out,
Care about each other.
care about each other enough to cheer each other on when we're getting a high score.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why and also it's down in the lower social ranks, which gives the main character incentive to want to get out of there and do something with his life.
Yeah, so that's kind of set up early. Relationships between people are kind of set up really quickly. There's Maggie and Alex, who are boyfriend and girlfriend. There's Lewis, his little brother, who's a bit of a, scallywag.
Scallywag, yeah.
He likes to, play with his alien costumes and
Little-
shoot people with his
Does his little brother have a friend?
Nerf gun.
Is there any scene in the film where his little brother is visited by a friend? Because if you read the end credits, the second last name in the whole credits is Will Wheaton
Yeah.
as his friend.
I
And
understand.
then I skipped through the film again one more and fast forward to see where Will Wheaton showed up, and
I
he must
found-
have been cut or something.
I
if he
found
was
a
ever in
picture
there.
with Will Wheaton in it this afternoon,
Oh, right.
and he was standing in front of, because that's a real shop.
From this movie.
Yeah, it's a real shop, although that shop doesn't have a caravan park next to it. It never did. They just sort of used creative editing to make it look like there was a caravan park next to it. But he was standing in front of it with a clapperboard.
Yeah.
And I didn't look at the image too closely to see what was on it, but it was definitely in a search for Last Starfighter images, and he was in front of that store.
Yeah. He was in
Maybe
there.
he's
He's
in
in the
that.
credits, so we just didn't see him.
He might have been in one of the group shots. I think I read somewhere in an article that he was there for some of the pickups at the end or something or other. So, yeah. All right, so we meet all of the characters. Lewis is Alex's little brother. Maggie's the girlfriend. And we also see, and this is what I kind of like about the movie, the first shot of Alex is him playing the arcade machine.
Yeah.
That's the very first thing that you see. So
I thought they used a really smart cinema decision to follow the kid. It's sort of like this one continuous shot, isn't
To
it? Where we
visit
see the
everybody,
girl,
yeah.
the girl's going over, the girlfriend Maggie is going over to borrow an esky because they're off.
They're going for a
Alex and the
picnic or
girlfriend are
something.
going to the lake, right?
Yeah.
And so that gets her to Alex's house, and then we follow Alex's little brother.
We meet a mum, Alex's mum there
That's
as well.
right. And then the little brother walks through the caravan park, up the stairs, past the guy that runs the shop, and then and ends up at the video game with Alex. So we've almost been introduced to every character, every
In context
Earth
as well.
character in that first 4 minutes.
Yeah, and their relationships between each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really well done. It's really, really concise.
There are generally some really good camera moves in that film. Some
Yes.
nice camera pans past people through things. Good compositions.
Yeah, and
like
I
that.
liked it. There was a few shots that I wanted to collect, like when Alex is pissed off. It's a shot from a crane shot looking down, perspective via the starlight, star bright with his big star in the
Flashing
thing, and then
in the foreground.
him in the foreground. And he throws his, that's when he doesn't get the loan. Anyway, so there are some great cinematography in there. Alex is playing the computer game. Friends turn up in the truck, and they're all going to go for a picnic. But Alex, they ask Alex to fix some stuff around the trailer park, and Alex has to stay back and can't go off with his friends and Maggie, who's his girlfriend. So they all shoot off.
And you skip the exposition where that's where he delivers his monologue about
true.
needing to leave and making something with his life.
And he doesn't want to hang around in this crappy old trailer park for the rest of his life.
Shine your pickup with you, boys. I'm out of here.
Yeah, slightly.
Gonna make something of my life.
Yeah, slightly kind of pisses off his friends, actually. Yeah. And,
that's what friends are for. You losers.
Yeah, I don't want to be like you losers. So anyway, and they all shoot off. And yeah, it's really concise, isn't it? In 2 minutes, we got bang, bang, bang. People, right, set up. Okay, off we go.
Yep. You sort of even know the motivations of most of the main players.
Yeah. So, well constructed, I think. Then Alex goes back to his home and he meets his mum. And his mum...
Did you gentlemen see a father?
No.
Nope.
There was no father.
I saw a father. You want to know where I saw a father?
Where?
When he's showing the alien the family photo.
Oh, that's right, yes.
There's a dad in it.
Yes.
And I can't work out whether it's a dad that's left or he's in the film and we just didn't... Maybe they cut the shot where he's maybe in it or not. But you didn't see anywhere in the film?
No.
I can't remember ever seeing it.
No.
Okay, cool.
No, that's a nice, curious touch, actually, I think, to leave you questioning. And they were planning a trilogy, so who knows?
Yeah.
I am your father, Alex.
That's right.
Could be coming back.
Could be the guy with the scepter.
In the next thing. So his mum has a letter for him, and so we've set up that he wants to get out of town and he's going to try and get a loan, and he was looking through a bunch of letters. And as soon as he gets back, what happens?
Yeah, didn't get in.
He didn't get in.
Didn't get the loan.
You've jumped. You have leaped forward in the film because before he finds out he doesn't get the loan.
Yeah.
He beats the Starfighter record.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does, because he's telling his mother in the kitchen that, guess what? Everyone's going to know that this is where it happened. I beat the Starfighter record. And then she says, oh, they dropped this letter off at work. I opened it.
Oh, good point. Yes, I think you're right.
So, the Starfighter record. The girlfriend comes back from the lake.
But that's not the ultimate record. It's like just his best score or something or other.
No. There's a flash forward, right? She gets in the pickup with all the friends and they all go to the lake. He spends the day patching electric panels and stuff for old ladies in caravans.
Yeah.
And then when she comes back at the end of the day and it's dark, she's dropped off by the guy that owns the ute.
Jumped ahead.
He's standing at the... He's in mid game.
He's pissed off because some other guy drops his girlfriend off.
And so they're having that conversation.
And while he's being distracted and angry at his girlfriend, suddenly he plays his best game in his life.
Yeah.
Yep. That's true.
And then that's when the village comes out.
When the entire village comes to cheer him on. And I had to laugh so hard.
Okay, so I've got this story beat as the big game, right?
Yep.
So yeah, you have been recruited by the Star League to defend the frontier against Zur and the Kodan Armada. So he's playing the game, and for some reason it looks like he's going to get the super high score. Yeah. And that's when
Otis,
the old guy, says, "Hey everybody, he's going to get the high score.
He's going to break the record."
Is he going to break the record? Apparently he's going to break the record. Hey everybody, he's going to break the record.
Lots of Spielberg-esque conversations going over the top of it.
Yeah.
Rhubarb. And they all run up the winding stairs.
Old grannies with the Zimmers coming with the shotguns.
Shoot those Kodar warriors.
And then they all, Alex. Like 50 people proceed to get up in his personal space and start screaming at him while he's trying to break the record.
So, if I'm honest, they didn't set that up very well. They could have had a shot with his little brother saying, "You're going to break the record today, Alex?" Yeah. Or they could have had a shot with his girlfriend saying, "Hey, you almost break the record."
Where the record breaking is a thing.
Yeah. So they never kind of set up.
They're getting excited about something that realistically most of them wouldn't know that there's such a thing anyway.
Yeah.
They're way too excited about it.
Yes.
But with video games, breaking the record is everyday's thing. That's what you do in video games. You keep coming back and you always want to play better than the game before.
Yep.
So it's not something special. It's just something that happens one day. You got the record.
Yeah.
All right. So Maggie comes back home. He breaks the record. He gets 900,000, and he's the record breaker.
That's right.
Okay. So next story beat. Alex and Maggie are discussing leaving the trailer park. Mm-hmm. And yes, you're right here. Sorry. Yeah, this is where Alex doesn't get his loan. Sad face. So he's now stuck in the trailer park.
Yeah.
And his escape route's been cut off.
And he storms out
and he comes across the Starfighter machine.
Girlie runs up to the sign that you were talking about before.
That's when he throws the thing at the sign.
Throws
the curse you.
The letter at the sign.
Yeah.
And then he's joined by.
Well, the Starfighter machine starts to go.
That's right. Which I think is a really cool. I think that's a really cool element in the film. That, and as it turns out, any time there is an alien nearby, the Starfighter machine starts wigging out.
Yeah.
And later on, it becomes a critical part of the plot line with the beta unit.
Yes, and we'll have to talk about that when we get to it, because a number of things happen with that. So essentially, the next thing to happen is a guy turns up in a car, and the car door opens, and somebody inside says, "Step into my office." Alex or whatever your name is.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's a bit scared, but he jumps into the car.
Gets in the stranger's car. That's correct.
Yes, this just strange space car that turned up that nobody.
Old shifty looking guy.
Yeah, with a
big
weird
grin on his face.
And a glass panel between him and the back seat.
I think at one point he says, "I've got a proposition for you.
Yeah.
Would you be interested?" He says, I would. And gets in the car.
Yeah. And then Alex.
And then wonders later why he got abducted and taken to another planet. Well, you got in the car, didn't you, you idiot? Not sending good messages to the kids.
No, this film doesn't.
Yes. Well, it has a whole bunch of good messages that probably wouldn't pass muster today. So anyway, he gets into the car, and there's another dark figure sitting in the car with him. And he says, and Centuri sitting in the car says, "Meet Beta." And, they shake hands, and there's a spark of electricity.
That's right. But we don't get to see
Beta.
He's in the shadows.
Mysterious in the shadows. And then he bolts out of the car and disappears.
And then the car takes off.
And the car takes off, leaving Beta standing in front of the camera as it goes down the road.
Alex is still in the car.
That's
and
right.
Alex is still in the car.
The car that's travelling at 300 kilometres an hour, according to the radar.
Was it 300?
Police.
Was it?
Yeah, it was in the police.
Was it in miles an
So
hour
what's the conversation that's
and it
going
was-
on inside the car?
Well, all of the
Centauri?
Yes.
yeah, Centauri's trying to give you some exposition about his connection to the game, and that he designed the game, and but he was also reluctant to tell him too much. He wanted to keep it as a surprise.
That was the key for me. You know, it's like, so where are you taking me in this weird car? And he's like, "Oh, you're the person who always wants to know the ending of things, aren't you?
Are you the boy that runs down the stairs the night before Christmas and cheats on the presents?
Yes, you read the end of storybooks from the back. You crazy." Yeah. So anyway, drives at 300 kilometers an hour, spending most of the time not watching the road.
But he has charisma. Robert Preston.
Oh,
that character
one of my favourite all-time sci-fi characters is that guy.
He's good. And so what guy with that winning smile asks you to get into his car.
He's just a shifty intergalactic salesman. Like he's just a salesman. What do the Pommies call it? A spiff?
Maybe.
They had him in the World War II. They were the guys who can get you anything.
Yeah.
You want some pantyhose? I can get some pantyhose, some elastic. He reminds me of that exact character. In fact, he's even got the hat. That's the hat that a spiff would wear in the Second World War.
Apparently, The Music Man is a film one has to see.
Yes.
And I have not ever seen that film.
It's the same character.
Same character, same actor.
Yep.
But have you seen it?
No, but I've seen his performances. I've seen a couple of clips of him, and it's the same fast delivery, really punchy, quick
Makes
delivery.
me want to see that film.
Yeah, you can tell he's spent a lot of time on stage.
Yeah.
And he's good. He's articulate.
Yep.
He's still fast.
Yep.
There are some really good
Sharp.
in the main character roles. There's some really good actors.
Yeah.
Charismatic, likable persons.
There's not one that stands out as a bad acting performance in this film. There's no one I look at and go, even the little kid was entertaining. You know,
I found some of the townspeople, the trailer park people, a bit cringeworthy.
The also-rans,
But Alex, Greek definitely.
Yeah.
Centauri.
All right, so they're going 300 kilometers an hour down a tunnel, and it looks like they're going to crash. And so, what does he do?
Hits the fly now button.
It's the fly now button,
and we see our first
Transformers
digital vehicle.
Yes,
flying
Came
on the
as a bit of
screen.
a shock.
Yeah, it was stunning to look at because it was a massive leap from Tron. If you ask me, it was a massive leap from Tron. Tron from me, from memory, very black and bright, glowing. You know, there wasn't. It just didn't have the shading quality that this thing did, and we could. It looked like it was made of metal. You know, and it had the shader fall off of self-shadowing, and you know, it just got it right.
And really bright rockets and stuff coming out the back. Yeah. Something that I suppose I want to sort of not forget as we talk about this more and more, and perhaps this isn't the perfect time for it, but I'll bring it up now, is that you saw the car, because the car takes off and then it goes up into the sky and then up into space and flies around a planet and then zooms off somewhere. You see it dynamically rolling, barrel rolling, turning. And if you think about other space movies, including most of the ones that we've already watched, what do the spaceships do? They sit on a stick. And the camera moves towards them a little bit. And that's space attack. Camera move in, you know, and then, oh no, camera pull out. You know, it's just so much more static.
You know how we sort of have, we nerd out a little bit on the godfathers of visual effects, and we talk about, you've heard the name Dennis Muren, who's the white-haired god of ILM. He's one of the founding boffins of ILM. Had a lot to do with the motion control system early on, or at least the stop motion and
Go motion.
Go motion.
They're using.
And Tippett was one of those guys.
Stop motion guy.
Dykstra, who made the motion control, computerized motion control rigs to allow them to do matched passes and things like that. Well, the doco I saw the other day about this film, about The Last Starfighter, had Dennis Muren talking to camera, saying, when I saw that shot for the first time, when I saw some of the shots that they were doing for this film, he looked at it, having come from Star Wars, and said, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And it enthused him to find out, what's this computer stuff all about? Well, see, Dennis Muren is the guy that took a couple of guys out into another section of ILM and developed the tech that gave us dinosaurs in a Jurassic Park. The death of stop motion was sort of Dennis Muren at ILM.
Killed it.
Killed a lot of his mates, and Phil Tippett and guys like that. But it was this film, by the sound of it, it was this film that prompted him to do that.
Well, Digital Productions, who made all the digital effects for that
Great
film.
name, by the way.
What's the first name
There
on
weren't
the list?
many around in those days. You can pick the best. It's like URLs. Get in early. They before they made this film, and I guess that's also got them on the radar for the people who, we're going to make digital effects. We're going to use this company. They had made an animation with X-Wings. And they made X-Wings flying up and rolling around and doing shots that they couldn't do at ILM.
That might have been the shot that he was talking about.
That's right. That's what they shot to ILM and said, look, this is what we can do with computers.
That's right. Using the same tech that they were using in this film. That's right. Yeah, and it was stunning. Like, it did this loop back and come back past the camera, and it was. You looked at it and say, there's no way you can motion control that.
Yeah. And so, that really stood out for me, especially after we've watched all of these other films with spaceships in them. Yeah, it's a big contrast. All right, so the spaceship flies off, flies past Saturn. It goes through
as the poster promised.
As the poster promised, the high point of the movie. And then it goes straight into time, space warp, and it flies to another planet on the other side of the galaxy or whatever.
What did you think of that effect?
It was a bunch of dots in a circle.
No, the colours coming together. Where there's a point where they make the physical jump. We're inside the cabin of the car slash flying car, and we're looking across Centauri that's driving. So the camera's over here, and it's looking out there, and we see all the colours. So it starts with space, black, and then you see this rainbow of colours and the stars all squashed together in the middle.
Oh, okay.
And then they go back like that. And I remember thinking at the time that looks pretty cool, but as I got older, I thought, well, there's very few movies that have shown jumping. Star Trek do a good job, especially in the last few films, and of course the hyperspace in Star Wars is pretty cool. But there's not a lot of films around that do that jump, that space intergalactic jump very well. And that was a really no one's ever done that before. We're broken down because all the stars are colours, right?
Yeah.
When you break. There's sort of a chromatic aberration animation going on where it comes together and then spreads apart again, and then you're in that's Rylos there. You're sort of right there. I always liked it.
Okay, so after that, they go down into the space base. Have you got any images of the space base? We might have
I
one.
think I do have a...
Which is another 3D thing.
And was it on... was the space base on Rylos, or was it on a separate planet altogether?
I thought it was on Rylos.
I guess it was on Rollers.
But getting back to that space jump, just from a technical standpoint, from a computer geeky standpoint, there is a use of motion blur, which we don't have in these old ray traced renders here. We don't have much motion blurring.
Yeah.
That was, calculation wise not feasible.
Mm.
But there is one shot where they pan from one side, from right, pan to the left, and the stars streak for these few frames, which I don't know how we would have done it artificially after rendering, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I know the shot you're talking about. Yeah, you're right.
It's just when they come out of the tunnel.
Yeah.
It's one of the things, the lack of motion blur, that gives it that look. It's kind of like a stop motion-ish. It's kind of like a halfway between a stop motion. It's a mid-step by not having the motion blur.
And we're now looking at a picture of the starbase on Rylos.
Yes.
And if you look at Ron Cobb's original designs of the planet and the concept drawings of car driving in,
It didn't look like that.
you get a bit sad about the end product. You feel sad because they could have achieved so much more, but if only the budget.
Yeah.
If only the time
This
and
looks
the budget.
like primitives. This looks like they've just used primitives here.
Well, that's what I was saying to Dave earlier. From the stuff that I was reading, they were still using, fairly basic, obviously.
It's
primitive-based modeling
and
techniques.
Fractals for the environment. It's not like they couldn't have done... they could have done even better. So for 84, it was great. But if they had more time and more money, they wouldn't have... They could cut a lot of corners to get this film out in the 6 months of post-production that they had.
All right, so they fly into the base. Then we sort of cut to live action. So that's a little bit of a sort of a jarring thing, I suppose. And then instantly, for reasons of being mysterious, perhaps, Centauri jumps out of the car and disappears off into the base somewhere, leaving old...
Needs to get his money.
Yes, leaving old Alex to meet...
His first alien.
His first alien.
Because he doesn't know that Centauri was an alien.
Oh, no, he does. He takes off his face for a second.
He takes his eyeballs out.
Yeah.
That was a giveaway.
And she's the director's wife, I think.
Oh, this really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's his name again?
Chris
Castle. Nick Castle.
Nick Castle. There you go.
Cool.
Now, to me, what do these aliens look like to you?
Lobot.
Yeah, a little bit lowbot. There wasn't there an old TV series called Quark?
Quark?
It was a comedy sci-fi TV series.
Yeah, I think I remember something like that.
Yeah, and that's what his boss looked like.
To me, they look like Oompa Loompas. Gigantic.
Oompa
Loompas.
They do. These are the older cousins.
I'm not sure why they had to go with the permed hair,
the bald spot.
Yeah.
Well, the bald spot I can deal with.
Oh yeah,
it's just the hair design. Could have gone with something a little bit more aggressive rather than powder puffy.
Yeah, even
because we're in a war after all. It's
even
like
just bald would have been all right.
The powder puff,
and there's a lot of makeup on that alien.
There is indeed.
And if you notice the colors now on Rylos, they're all muted, all desaturated grays and pastel colors, and the only colors that you really see as colors are red and green
in the logos and insignia.
And even in the hat, they have some hats that have either red or green perplex, and the skin is lightly reddish here, and those are the same red and green colors that you see in the Starfighter game.
Yeah.
So they get mirrored here in the design of that planet.
Very good. So that's where we kind of end Alex's little trip, and we quickly cut back home because we need to get a bit of an update on what's going on back home. Can anybody remember what happens in the very next scene?
Is that porn?
Yes.
Yes, I knew it.
Well, there's
now
the girlfriend walks into the bedroom.
Yes.
Having spoken to the mother and she's been informed.
But you're skipping ahead slightly.
You're skipping ahead. You're skipping past the Playboys. That's the most important part of the film.
No.
This is the important bit.
No.
It's Lewis first.
Lewis first.
Yes.
Maggie arrives.
That's right.
And Yolanda Hubba Hubba.
That's right. Yolanda baby.
Yolanda baby, that's right.
He's like, where's June? God damn it, June.
He pulls the Playboy like this, and it's almost taller than him, which is not about the size of the Playboy. It's about how old he is looking at the looking at the Playboy.
So when they do the remake, will he be on the computer looking at porn on in the remake, do you think?
Probably. I saw one. I thought it was something different, but it turned out to be a podcast, and I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
But it was a podcast on this film, and right at the very start, there was a warning. It was like a cinema warning, and it was a rating type warning, and it said the following movie contains pornography, vehicular homicide, and something else, which is exactly what happens in the film. And I thought, that's pretty smart. I'm going to go back to that podcast and see what those guys come up with.
Just to be clear, there's no actual pornography. He's just got a Playboy
That's right. We
magazine
don't get to see anything.
Just the cover.
But still, I doubt with very strong conviction that anything like that would be tolerated in any way, shape or form today.
That's it. So the
How
girlfriend.
does that happen? How do we turn into more prudish?
How did we go backwards? You mean? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same with the 80s movies with blood and gore. You know, the Ed 209 shot or 109 or whatever it is. When he's shooting the crap out of the guy in the exec office, there's blood going everywhere. You don't get that either anymore. Yeah. Anyway, next one.
Well, the girlfriend walks in.
You do get it in B movies even today.
Yeah.
And a lot of those cult films that are cult films today were, not mainstream movies back then.
True, it's never left those. That's where it's. But in the mainstream, it's just
Oh, there's a lot of theories about how the censorship bodies in the United States won the war. Like there were periods where they lost, they gained back some ground. As it turned out, they end up winning in the end. Yeah. Like they rating system over there is crazy, and people lose a lot of money in their productions because of that rating system.
All right, so we have a last quick story beat, and that is there's something under the bed covers,
under the blanket.
Oh,
well, the girlfriend walks in, and the what's the kid's name again?
Lewis.
Lewis tells the girlfriend he's been up all night moaning, and she knows by now that he's missed out on the loan. So she's assuming he's moaning about the loan, and just decides to leave him alone and exits the room. And then what is revealed?
I think we have a picture of it.
I think we do. I'll throw it up there.
So it's a
little disturbing.
It is quite.
That was but unexpected shock.
Yeah. So there's a horrible human face that's morphing into its human form or something or other. It's like this pale, bug-eyed.
Well, it's sort of it's a puppet of a character with some foil around it, slimy painted, and imagine somebody's at the other end with a hose breathing in and out of it,
and the whole
face goes,
and it's all slimy, and the eyeballs are hanging out.
Yeah.
I remember it's probably the scariest, spookiest moment of the film until we meet the Zandozan
when
later
I was
on.
Studying biology, I had access to good binoculars, like microscopic binoculars. These are big things with two eyes, like a microscope, but not as powerful as a microscope, but fantastic for looking at little insects. You see huge. And so I put a pupa of a fly. This was hatching because we had frogs that we were feeding, so we always had pupa with the frogs, and they would hatch, and the frogs would fly. So there's a pupa hatching, so I quickly grabbed it, put it under the thing. And if you want to have disturbing nightmares, you watch a fly crawling out of its pupa, because the first thing that pops out is the head. And there's just the head. She can't wiggle her legs yet. She can't wiggle her wings. It's just the head, and she needs to pump her way out of the pupa using her head. So the whole hemolymph, the whole liquid in the body goes into the head. The eyes go out like that to the side, and then it all shrivels up again when she pumps everything back into her torso. And that way she sort of, over several minutes, works her way out of that pupa by swirling up the head. And you immediately develop a hatred for flies. You just want to kill them.
You can never
This shot
unsee
is
that.
not unlike that.
All right, that's quite disturbing.
It is very disturbing.
So at this stage in the story, we don't know who this is.
No.
Well, we know it's better.
Well,
don't we?
Well, technically we know, but we don't know anything about it.
We haven't been. Yeah,
we don't know whether it's a good guy or a bad guy or whatever.
Yeah, we don't really know what he's up to, what this is all about.
Yeah, maybe.
He doesn't explain.
Maybe
it.
I'm spoiled with too much other films, but I thought, you don't see the face in the car. You have the spark when the hands touch, and he runs out. And I immediately think, because we know that Centauri is a good guy.
Yeah.
I immediately thought, well, he's going to be the replacement.
Yeah.
That's why we didn't see him, because he's going to be Alex.
And you would be hard pressed to not assume that.
Yeah.
Those links, but we're not.
But then this is a surprise.
Yeah, the exposition doesn't come till later as to exactly what he's doing here.
Mm-hmm. So while that's happening and you're pondering that, we zap back to Starfighter Command.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. So Alex couldn't speak the language, so it's nice that the aliens don't speak English. That was a bonus. And they give him a little translator thingy that they stick in his shirt, and then he can suddenly speak the language.
So he can now speak all the languages?
He can now
he-
speak
all the aliens?
He
languages. Yep.
hears all the
Understand everything?
languages in
What's the
English.
next thing he does? Precisely the next scene. He walks into the room with all the pilots,
Yep.
steps on the tentacle guy,
Yeah, yeah.
and what does the tentacle guy say?
That's right. And that, it's,
A minute after he got
They
the
s-
universal translator.
and they squeeze at the end. It's almost like someone came in later and said, no, this is no good, because they've put it two and two together. And they squeezed onto the end of that outburst, that alien outburst, I'll crush you to gore
did he?
and dust.
I didn't even
Yeah, he
understand
says at the end of it. But you're right, still does that. And then they squeeze on the end of I'll crush you to gore and dust.
Maybe the universal translator has got a setting for
No profanity.
Yeah, no profanity. It won't translate those.
Gosh darn it, you stepped on my tentacle.
So the guy that he steps on the toe of is
Cthulhu.
one of a handful of aliens there. There's at least a dozen other starfighters all sitting in some kind of briefing area, and they're all different varieties of
There are,
aliens.
there were a couple-
there are an unequal number. There are an
Oh, is there?
unequal number
Mm.
because every single one is 2 by 2.
Yeah, there were more than...
There's
One
like
of each.
5 different races,
Mm.
but 2 of each. Exactly
Okay.
2 of each.
Yeah.
And he's the only human. And when they're sitting down, and say there's six chairs, or 5 aliens and the human, and then the row before them, every alien has the exact same species as themselves in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's the human, and in front of him is an empty chair.
Okay.
Ah, good.
And I wonder what that was. Is
Yeah.
that because the last Starfighter, I mean the one that they fly in, the prototype, has 2 chairs. Are all the Starfighters
Same race.
two-seaters?
Yes, I would say, of course they are.
And is that... So there was a
So
human
what's
missing.
going on? So Centauri didn't come up with the goods.
Yeah.
Mm.
Either that or Greg was off making coffee.
Yeah.
It was
Well, I
like,
don't think Greg was meant to be his co-pilot.
Yeah.
He was probably supposed to have a human one.
Yeah. Because he built Death Blossom, didn't he?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure.
But that's actually a good point.
He was in the hangar working on Death Blossom when the attack came.
Maybe that's why
That's why he survived.
That's why he survived.
Yes. Okay.
So this is some sort of briefing area, and then during this briefing session, we're introduced to the villain.
Kind of. Just
Have I jumped?
a little jump.
Yeah,
little
yeah,
jump.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Um,
refusal comes first.
Well, yeah, there's a bit of that. Yeah.
That's right.
So just remember that it's Ambassador Orduran. I got his name written down here, which is just some weird... Somebody have a look on IMDb. He gets up the front and he's going to explain the story to us. He's going to give us some expository dialogue.
Enduran.
Duran.
Enduran.
That he's going to explain to us what the frontier is and what we're all fighting for. And he says that, okay, so there's this thing, this is this big thing called the frontier.
That's right.
And the frontier is essentially a barrier of some description that's, I would imagine, friggin' huge because it like encompasses multiple worlds, all of the star systems of the...
And shuts out all the bad worlds.
That's right. And so all of the bad guys are on the outside and the good guys are on the inside.
It's pretty lucky that all the bad guys live nearby each other, and all the good guys live nearby each other.
Yeah,
we
that's
could just
right.
put a barrier in between those things,
It's
and it all works.
Yes, and it's starting to remind me of a certain Donald Trump in their way of thinking of how they organise things. Anyway, and so they say that there's been a dark betrayal. And so the Starfighters are going to defend the frontier against Zur and Kodan.
That's right. He sort of gives the speech that the computer game gives, doesn't he?
Yes.
That you've been selected, and you alone can defend the frontier against Zur and the Kodan Armada.
Now, I have to say that Zur is an unfriendly word, and they should have chosen something else.
Yes.
Zur.
Yeah.
What language are we talking about here?
Any language would do.
XUR is
that how it
is a
is?
shitty name. Yes, it's XUR, but it's pronounced Zur.
Zur. Kind of messes up when you're trying to speak Zur. Yeah. So anyway, but that's the bad Oompa Loompa and Kodan. All right.
Who is the son of Enderan.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's right.
He calls him father.
That's right. There's a father-son thing going on there.
So how are we introduced to the bad guy? Probably the largest hologram in cinema history.
Wait. We have to go one. Well, I've got one more step before that happens. Now let's. Okay, I want to take you on.
You're losing control here, Dan.
Yes, I'm losing control.
The
That's right. You're gonna fight.
Pulling the reins.
Pulling the reins. Because I want to tell you a little story. Let's imagine that you go to a new club. Okay, and it could be any club. It could be the aeroplane flying club, or the paper airplane club. You go down to the paper airplane club, and you think, okay, I'm going to join these guys. These guys are pretty cool. And they say, hi, how you doing? Here, have some coffee. Here, look, we're going to make paper airplanes. Paper airplanes are cool. Here, look, we're going to have one of our guys talk to you about paper airplanes. He says, yes, paper airplanes are great. We love paper airplanes. We're the paper airplane crew. We're going to make paper airplanes. Everybody's going to make paper airplanes. It's going to be great. And then everybody stands up and chants,
what if
victory
we lose?
Or death! Victory or death! Victory or death! Now, if you're in that club, would you be like, I made a mistake?
Yeah. Which I think is exactly what happens. He sees Centauri off to the left, and he's like, everyone's
victory,
chanting.
Even Centauri's doing it. He's just like, right. He's not chanting. He's just pumping his fist as he's walking around the office.
And Alex runs over to him and says, like, I want out. Yeah. What are you doing? You madman, you didn't tell me any of this.
Yeah, you guys are a little intense.
Which is when we meet Greg, don't we?
Greg, who's a jolly old fellow and takes everything with a good laugh.
He accidentally knocks Greg over, or Greg knocks Alex over.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they're introduced to each other. And it was Greg that worked out that Centauri had been up to no good, because the Earth isn't part of the directorate.
That's
and
right.
They were not due to be
technically allowed. Yeah. Now, what I think is supposed to have happened is that there's some other system on the regular worlds where Cthulhu comes from. They don't have arcade computer games to become the last one of the Starfighters. They have some other system which they mention. They call something. So yeah, he's got this ad hoc system that has been used. So so Alex refuses the call like a true hero, and Greg is a little shocked. Says, what, really? Yeah. Don't want to be a starfighter?
Are you a coward?
Yes. And nobody refuses this. This is crazy. This is the kind of scene over here.
Yeah.
And so Centauri's counting his money, and so he doesn't want to become a starfighter, and Centauri's getting all pissed off because he was going to have his fortune for providing this, and now we get some hologram action.
That's right. Preceded by wind.
Wind, was there?
Yeah, well, the wind starts blowing everybody's hairstyles and everything, and then
because there's particles that flow in and make the hologram.
Particles blow out like
hologram
this, and then
wind.
they come together like this, and it's the largest hologram in cinema history until Snoke.
Okay, true.
But it's just a giant 14-foot floating head, bald head with
Oompa Loompa hairstyles,
Oompa Loompa sideburns, offering a foreboding warning to everybody that everybody's going to die. And
so it's Zur, the son of. So why did he call? He said, "Hey, Dad, I'm just calling up.
Just to remind you that I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill all them, and I'm going to smash everybody. And you shouldn't have doubted me in the first place."
And Uncle Dave, who you sent over to spy on me.
Yes, that's right.
They have to have a melting head shot.
You have to have a head melting event.
So there's a torture. He's able to bring it up on the monitor, the spy being tortured, having his face melted and brain
screaming
melted.
with the most terrified. As his laser beam melts his face off.
Lots of cutaways of people looking at it, going. Ooh.
And that's when I think Alex, he's got the victory or death chant, followed by the brain melting.
Well, I don't even think there's any dialogue. I think after the brain melting thing, and then the hologram disappears, the next shot is them
literally
back to Earth.
Centauri
or he's in the front seat cursing under his beard.
Yeah. I'm out of here.
Bloody.
All right. So while they're leaving, we don't leave space because now we've just been introduced to the bad guys. So neatly, we have to go and see them for real.
That's right.
We see
On
scepter
the command ship, yeah?
Yes. So there's a command ship. And so what are they going to attempt to do in this?
They've got to try to smash their way through the frontier. They're trying to cut through the frontier so that
the barrier.
so that the Armada can
Sneak
proceed
in,
through and destroy the Star League.
And because the video game has a level where you shoot asteroids,
That's right.
in real they have to start throwing asteroids.
Yeah, the meteor gunner. Yeah, ready the meteor gun.
That's right. So it's Zur and those other guys, who the Kodan. That's right, the Kodan. And Zur's gets his scepter out, and it's got its like dagger, it's on spikes and everything. And the Kodan guys say, "All right, launch meteor missiles."
And he gets the shit.
He
says, "I am the boss." He says, "Launch the missiles." No, I'm the boss. I say when we launch the missiles. It's pretty much exactly what it is.
And we find out that he's sort of borrowed an army, like the Emperor.
He's in cahoots with these Kodan people
Yeah,
somehow.
the Kodan Emperor has given him the Armada because only I know the location of the hidden base.
Yes, and I'm about to launch missiles at the hidden base, and I'm being a jerk to all you guys, so this doesn't bode well for my future. But anyway.
Which is exactly what happens to him.
So yes, the Kodan hate him at the end of that.
Yep.
And there's a kind of a wall beam that makes a kind of a little hole.
And as the hole gets big enough for the meteors to go through, they launch the meteors at the base.
All right. And so now what happens? There's an extra little bit in the film which I thought was a little bit weird. So we're still in space. We've got the meteors going towards the Star League base.
Yep.
We've got the people in the base.
And we've got the guy that paid the money to Centauri is planting a bomb
Exactly.
somewhere inside the base, probably for the defense shield.
That's right. It's their repulsor gun controls.
That's right.
Because they're going to have anti-aircraft guns that can shoot down the little missiles
And
that are coming
they shot quite a few of the meteors down until the bomb.
So he's put a bomb on the... And then that blows that up.
Yeah.
And then... So that blows that up, and then the missiles go into the base, and it blows up the base.
Yeah.
Or rather, it heavily damages the base. It doesn't just destroy it,
And it kills all the starfighters.
Yes, but it doesn't kill everybody.
No.
But it
No,
kills
there's-
all
it's just-
the gun stars. It
Somehow
kills all the
manages to
spaceships.
kill all
They
the
hit the
spaceships.
All the
They hit the
spaceships.
hangar.
Yep.
So I thought that was a little bit weird. Why did they put that into the story? Why do they need to have... Because they got the missiles coming in. Why do they need to also have a dude inside the base blow up something inside the base, and then the base blows up from something
Because
outside
it
the
makes
base?
the good guys look like a bit of a stupid pansies if they could be wiped out just by the meteorites.
Yeah,
Right? They have their anti-meteorite guns, and they would have prevailed if only they hadn't been... They're good, and they have good defenses, and they can be relied upon.
Yep.
And they would have prevailed if only they hadn't been stabbed in the back.
So that's a really good explanation from inside the story, but from a presentation of a story, I start to think that that's, from a viewer's perspective, it's like, who was that guy? Why did he do that?
I still don't know.
Where did he come
We
from?
never get told. Do
Where
we?
did he go to?
Yeah, that's
and we
right.
don't get any of that information.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, it's like, you could have chopped that and we
Who
all
is
still
this?
been...
Yeah.
If you're going to have it in the story, do something with it. Like, because we see that guy earlier on, and
Yeah, he's the guy that pays the money to Centauri.
All right, so there's a rather poignant scene when one of the little Oompa Loompas is watching the little radar, and the
That's
bombs
right.
get closer,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, I guess we're all dead.
Yeah.
And we're dead.
Yeah.
All right, so Centauri, so we're back on Earth,
Yep.
and the space car is broken down,
Yep.
and we're in the middle of a road somewhere, and Centauri's under the car, and he's fixing it with his sonic screwdriver or whatever it is, and Alex is going to
Just
head
leg
home.
He's just gonna walk
leave.
home.
He's going to walk
Yeah,
across
screw
the
it.
paddock to
Yeah.
get home.
Yeah, it's only a couple of miles.
And Centauri gives him a communicator, just in case.
That's right.
Just in case. Now, Centauri he wasn't too worried about the beta unit.
Yeah, that's true.
He's chucked him a communicator and said, yeah, see you later.
Yeah.
And didn't think, well, I sort of left another alien
There are two Alexes.
in your bed.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
back at your place. Because we still don't know who the beta unit is. Do we?
No, I
Have we
don't
been
think we
told
have.
who the beta unit is? Because Alex certainly doesn't know until he finds him.
No,
in
we
the
don't know.
bed.
In fact, when we get back to town, that's when it's going to start to be revealed that there's some confusion going on.
And that's
So,
right.
yes.
It's the beta unit that tells Alex what a beta unit is.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So when he's in bed, yeah.
He explains to him when we zapped each other in the car. I took on your blah blah blah. I'm here to.
So when he gets back, you know, Maggie slaps him because the beta unit has said something stupid to Maggie, and Maggie thinks the beta unit
Didn't
is
like
Alex,
that
and Alex
wiggly
thinks.
tongue in his ear.
Yeah.
Who would?
That's right.
I like the beta unit. I like the whole beta unit, and I like that he was his own character as well.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that
think-
was really great.
I think. How do you stop it from being Star Wars? Beta unit, right? It plants the story on Earth, and it forces it to be sci-fi in our science, right? I think they even mentioned it in the doco that I was watching, that is the mechanism they used in the narrative that plants it, like that makes it not a fantasy. You know what I mean? Because and it plants the story here, and so he goes off, but there's stuff that has to keep going on here, and the beta unit is the thing that makes that all happen.
And I like the pacing of the story because we got into it really quick. We got Alex up into space really quick. We had a couple, and anyway, then there's a space fight and things are exploding. And now we're going to come back down here and we're going to take a little break for a little while. We're going to start looking at some other stuff, and then we're going to sort of ramp up into the climax at the end. So
It's very unusual for stories to have a little long journey for the hero, just to then do the refusal and go all the way back home again.
Yes, all
before
the
he again
way.
gets picked up again to go
Yeah.
back the other way again.
And in screen time, getting from when he's dropped off to when he's picked up again, it happens like that.
Yeah.
And I make the case as well that they even when he goes back, he still refuses. The refusal stays with him for quite some time.
Yeah. Whiny farm boy seems to be common in sci-fi. Whinge and moan the whole time.
So yeah, he meets the beta unit and they have a bit of a discussion, and they're kind of, you know, shocked that Alex looks like the beta unit, so he's surprised, and the beta unit's surprised that he's back. He's
That's
like,
right.
what the hell are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. And so while they're doing that, a car arrives and a guy gets out of the car.
That's right. He's a hitchhiker.
He's a hitchhiker type guy, and he, in our first shot, we see that he has a space gun.
Well, first we're introduced to once again, the computer game
Yes,
starts wigging out when he gets out of the car.
but it does more than wig out, and I need some explanations of what's going on here, because as the alien walks past the arcade machine,
He tears his face off.
yes, tears his face off.
He looks like a human, and then when he stops and stares at the computer game, his disguise gets ripped off, and he's this. It's a cool looking alien with the eyeballs right out here on the side, this little tiny grandma mouth. But yes, it's and drooling and pretty.
It's a lovely face to see in a police uniform. I wish there were more photos of that alien in the police uniform around.
Yes, I've
Yes.
got here. For some reason, the arcade Starfighter removes his face.
That's
Yes, so
just as badly explained as the.
we could come up with some scientific
planting of the
techno
bomb.
babble as to why the reversed positrons on the thing inverted his face mask.
Yeah.
Was there any story or narrative reason?
No.
Oh, it never get explained. Is the thing protecting him? Who knows?
I think they sufficiently set up that there is some kind of connection with that computer game and anybody that is of an alien race. Because as soon as Centauri turns up, it starts wigging out, right? Right at the very start. And then when he turns up, it starts wigging out. That's enough. It was enough, but it doesn't. They never explained enough to justify the face ripping off.
I think they kind of screwed up. This is my explanation for it. It's like, we're going to have the bad guy arrive in a car. And are we all agreed? Yes, we are. Cool. And then they said, all right, so we're going to have Alex fight the monster. And
Well,
then
the
we're
monster
all
can't
agreed.
get out of the car.
Yes, but a monster can't get out of a car.
Yeah.
Ooh, so we're in a bit of a tricky dilemma here. How are we going to solve this
We'll
one?
put him in a disguise.
Yes.
But then how do we get the disguise
It's
off?
off him. Well, you see.
I think
And the rest is history.
I think that there is some kind of alien tech that's used in the computer game that replicates Earth. It replicates something, but realistically, it's alien tech. There, you're just seeing a computer game.
Ah, okay.
The same tech he's using to disguise himself, and when they come close to one another, they interfere. There's an
They're like
interference.
magnets or something, and
Yeah.
they flip around
There you
backwards so
go.
the
See?
poles align.
Easy.
Yeah, see, I knew we could solve this one. All right, so Alex is out wandering the streets.
Oh, he's got the
Have you
shits. He's got
Why
the
has he got
shits
the
because, well, Centauri left the beta unit and didn't tell him about it.
That's right. Yeah,
That's,
yeah.
He goes, he's tapping the crystal. He wants-
That's right. Yes, and I thought,
Get back here.
Yeah,
He's
yes.
yelling at the sky.
yes, and I thought that was all well set up. That was really well organised in terms of plot points. That now he's pissed off, so now he's calling Centauri back. Okay, so what's the space bad guy's name?
He says Xandazan.
A Xandazan. Which is slightly less bad name than Zur. So anyway, yes. So there's they have a bit of a fight. Well, tries to kill Alex.
Yep.
Then Centauri arrives in the nick of time with his laser gun and pachoo, shoots off the Xandazan's arm. That'll learn him.
Yep.
And then they're getting ready to go back to
Well, Centauri gets shot
yes.
by the arm.
By the disembodied Xandazan arm
Yep.
with a laser gun in it.
That's right. And takes one to the gut.
Why?
The hitchhiker.
Yeah, tell me.
The guy who is the Xandazan
Yeah.
is Mark Alaimo, and I was kind of thinking, where do I know that name
The
from?
guy that gets out of the truck with
Yeah.
the mustache.
No, the hitchhiker. The guy whose
the
face gets ripped off.
Yeah, with the moustache.
Has he got a moustache? Maybe.
Well, no, in the film he has.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got some kind of skin condition as an actor. Because I remember he used to be in just about every, like Rockford Files. He was in Knight Rider and Chips, and he was always a bad guy. But
I know him from Deep Space Nine.
I've seen him. Yeah.
He's Gul Dukat.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, we might be, yeah.
It is too.
That's
Yeah. Because we only see him for the 15 steps it takes to get from the car
Yeah.
to the computer gate.
Yeah.
Then his face gets ripped off.
That's your rollover. Thank you for coming. All right, so Alex is going to go back with Centauri. Now, what is the motivation here again?
Because 20 Xandazans will be here
Oh, that's right.
within
that's
a day.
Right. That's right.
And eventually Zur is going to find Earth.
And blow up Earth
and
anyway.
Kill
so,
everything you love. And
So Alex like kicks a rock and goes, oh, shoot.
he got guilted
Snarl.
into it by
Yeah.
Beta Unit and
So he gets tricked into it
Centauri.
again.
Yep.
All right. So the next story beat is Return to Starfighter Command, and it's all blowed up.
Yes, that's right. And Centauri is fading
Is-
fast. In fact, he passes out when they land at what's left of Starfighter Base.
Yeah, so I've got here as my story note, Centauri kind of dies. And Grigg says, farewell.
Oh, he dies.
Farewell, old.
Like he dies in the film. When you do the open eye pass out thing and then they come in and close your eyes, you're dead.
I would like to remind that when he falls like that and he just sort of stares blankly and then Grigg reaches over and closes his fake eyeballs on
That's
the
right.
mask
That's
that's on
right.
his face. It's a very poignant moment.
Yes, it was. It was, and it's equivalent to Obi-Wan dying in that at the end of that third act. It sets the whole thing moving forward. He has to do it alone now.
That's right. His grifting master is gone.
The only difference is Centauri is not a wise master. He's
No,
just a
he's
shifty bastard
He's a con man.
that abducted a human off a planet.
and he gets immediately replaced by Grigg, who is the new mentor.
That's right.
So while they're doing that, back at home, there's a quick little story bit where the beta unit, Alex B,
The hearing.
has needs a data update on his ears or something or other.
He's
and-
hearing some really bizarre noises.
Yeah. So he does a little bit of maintenance and takes off his own head, and then is fixing
And
it
is
up
operating on the head on the desk.
Yeah, and Lewis sees him and he says, "It was only a dream. Go back to bed, Lewis, idiot." Something or other like that. And then he sees another spaceship
shooting
thing.
star stop and come down. And then
so here's trouble.
grabs the nose of the head on the desk.
Because he wants to
shake
his head in dismay, so he needs to do that.
It's a little awkward when your head's not attached to your neck anymore. Yeah.
Oh no.
All right then. So back in Starfighter Command, we have a bit of a hero moment where Alex is all suited up in his Starfighter kit.
Yep.
And then they go and see the his ship.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we know about his ship?
It's an experimental one.
It's a prototype.
A prototype.
Yeah.
Yes.
It contains the new prototype weapon called Death Blossom.
Death Blossom.
And when
which turns out to be a really wicked, cool weapon.
But you don't know that when you're the
No.
pilot and you open the thing and you see the big red button and somebody says, "Don't touch that. That's a weapon of last resort. It's called Death Blossom."
yeah.
There was no way in hell I would ever press that button.
Yes.
Not even when they also.
You'd fly like that. wouldn't you?
Can I press it now? No, we don't press it yet.
Why? And Greg's thinking, why did I put the button up there?
There's instant death to yourself and everyone around you, you'd think.
So they get into the ship.
Yep.
And they start to, control the ship and
he
learn a
doesn't
bit about
know.
the ship.
He doesn't know. Like they're entering the ship, and the navigator Greg gets out of the little elevator and gets in his chair, and then the elevator keeps going up. And then as soon as he gets into the chair, Alex, I think, asks something in relation to the other starfighters, and Greg says, "They're all dead."
Yeah.
Wait, what? And then they take off.
Yeah.
But how many are left?
Yeah.
Including you? Yes?
One. And then they literally take off at that exact moment. It's like, haha, you can't go anywhere now.
And the best line in the movie is, "So I'm the last starfighter, and I have to fight all of the Cordan fleet." And Greg says, "Yes." And he says, "It'll be a slaughter." And Greg says, "That's the spirit."
That's the spirit. Not my slaughter. Whiny farm boy throughout the whole thing.
It'll be a slaughter.
You modeled that character, Greg, on some British commandant who trained his troops. And
So the controls are just like the arcade, which is handy.
Yes.
Okay.
whole point of the game, yep.
So he knows all about it. It's a great photo. What's going on?
Yeah.
And so they do a bit of target practice.
Yeah. And we find out that the whole, realistically, a starfighter really is a gunner. Does a lot of... Doesn't do a lot of flying.
Griggs is the navigator, so he's the pilot.
Sort of flies, does most of the flying, but and we find out that the chair is linked to the starfighter.
And it rotates around.
And the targeting system is suspended in the Xeon mist.
And the thing that I thought was the absolute coolest, the absolute total coolest about the spaceship was that it had like little turrets all over it.
Yeah.
So if he was looking this way, the turrets on that side would shoot. And if he's looking this way, the turrets on that side would shoot.
Yeah.
So that meant that the spaceship didn't have to dogfight.
Yeah.
It could just kind of fly along and shoot up and down and left and right. Yeah. And I was like,
I even
this
think
is
at
the
one
coolest,
point
man.
when he's chasing a ship in a moment, the ship goes across a strut or a part of the ship in the targeting system, and it turns into a semi-transparent version of the ship with a red X or something, so he can't shoot his own ship.
Right.
Yeah, the targeting system won't allow you to blow your own wing off or something like that.
Yeah.
I still think it's one of the best ships in sci-fi.
Yeah, I thought it was so
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. And cleverly designed for the computer games of the time, like Galaga and so on, where you really, all you do is, you shoot at asteroids, or shoot at incoming aliens. You don't learn how to fly a spaceship, you learn how to shoot.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that that you can't be expected to be the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They need a second person to be the navigator.
So he's still, they do some target practice.
Yeah, they do some target practice.
And then they run into another ship.
That's right. They detect a cargo ship. What's a cargo ship doing so close to the frontier?
And the cargo ship turns on them and decides to take a shot.
That's right. And, that we have our first live target.
And Whiny Farm Boy does not want to
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And
Everyone shoots.
the ship's shooting
Killing
them,
them.
and one of Grig's lines is "Shoot!"
Yeah, yeah. And so he shoots and ends up killing him.
Yep.
Killing the ship, and he's pissed again.
Yes, and I've got here in my story beat, Alex whines and whinges.
Yep.
He's just taking another life.
There's only one scene right at the very end of the film where he's not doing that.
So they go into an asteroid. So they're flown inside of an asteroid.
Yeah.
Now, the fun fact I read about the asteroid is that the asteroid didn't render properly. And so, yeah, what you see in the screen is they've messed up the settings or something or other. And so the slightly blurry, what was it, grey ice cream.
Yeah, we got a shot of it. And you can definitely see the difference.
You can see down in here, you probably can't necessarily see if you're watching on the thing, but we can see some hard edges on the polygons down here. This is the sharpest,
Yeah.
the sharpest edge.
Sure.
This
And
is
then
really weird.
see how soft everything is over here.
And this is on the outside. When you get inside and get close up to that texture, that's when you get the grey ice cream.
It's hard edges and bump maps.
And the texel scale. Like
Yeah.
it's terrible.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's, from shot to shot, it keeps changing.
Presumably procedurally generated fractal.
It would be.
So it wouldn't have any textly, but it's blurry as hell. There's sharp edges and then a blurry bumpiness to it.
Well, procedurally there would be a factor for repetition, and that factor is not consistent relative to the objects around it throughout the film. That you can tell.
Yeah, it's
was early
mixtures
on.
of resolution.
Yeah. It was funny. There's one of the guys that was working on the digital stuff said that at the time there were just boffins in little cubicles, and someone would jump up in the middle of the night or something. Someone would jump up and go, "I've worked out how to do shadows."
Yeah.
Self shadows.
Yeah.
And everybody would all congregate around the cubicle, and within 2 days, all the shots had self shadows and stuff like that. So they were literally inventing this shit as they went along.
Yeah, which is pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
While they're doing this, there's a back home story that we're flashing to every now and again. The beta
Sort of
unit.
parallel tracking, aren't they? The two stories.
So two stories start to happen simultaneously, and that's the enemy bad guy Zan, and they go up to Silver Lake. They're going to have a picnic or something, or camping up at the lake.
There's some gratuitous snogging going on under blankets and things like
some
that.
under blanketry snogging going on, and
the parents don't know what's going on.
the
Unacceptable.
the Zan has taken over one of the cops.
That's right.
Which actually might not be acceptable today either. I remember a good story is one of the scariest Doctor Who movies is when and one of the only movies that I think got complaints from not only people but the actual cops is when you replace cops in a film in the Doctor Who case, they were replaced with kind of robot cops that were evil, and the cops kind of rang up Doctor Who and said, "You know how we're making out the cops to look like evil robots? Can we not do that?" So yeah. All right, so then we cut back. We're still inside the asteroid, and Alex is still in his whiny, whingy mood. And I don't want to fight the bad guys. I can't do it. And they're going to swap a few home stories. Yeah, a few photos.
What are we fighting for?
Yes. So tell me a little bit about Grig's family.
Apparently, if it's an alien, you just put oid on the end of it.
Yes.
And it's fine.
Yes.
Because he has a wifoid.
Yes, he has a wifoid.
And 300, is it 300 or 200 little griglets? Or
No, not 200. It's 6,000
6,000.
little gremlins.
And I love the photo that he shows. Goes flip, 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 flip. It shows you about 20 photos all at once.
And I love the picture of his wife, which is like him in a...
It's him, but with a fluffy collar. And it did the job.
Yeah, hilarious.
I accept that. That's fine. No problems.
And it's about this stage that they come up with their plan.
Well, he's explaining where they used to play in caves near the caravan park where they
because he's trying to make it simple for poor old mindless Grig to understand the concept of houses. Yeah, so he's saying...
Because Grig lives in a cave.
Yes.
And he's saying we live in mobile homes that don't go anywhere, which confuses him even more. He said that it's like a cave, and we used to play in caves, play hide and seek, and that's where he got The epiphany moment.
Yeah, how many times do you see that in films, you know, where it's like, what are we going to do? I don't know, but I wish I had a balloon. And it's like, what did you just say? Balloon. That gives me a brilliant idea. Balloon. That's how we'll save the day.
It's the only reason you need an offsider.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'd just be stuck in whatever room they were in.
So what's their plan?
They're going to hide inside the asteroid and let the Armada pass over the top and then hit the turret, because there's some sort of turret on the mothership that controls. What happens if you blow the turret again?
I forget what it was.
They call it a communications thing.
So they lose all communication with each other and with the mothership.
I imagine that there was some coordination going on where one would say, you go left and I'll go right. And it was this thing that was making it all work.
And it's the coordinated nature that scared them, so that by
Yes.
killing the turret, then they'll be in chaos.
Yes. Yeah, so that's their plan.
All right.
So they come out of the asteroid and some ships turn up and we...
Well, the timing here is important
Okay.
because on Earth, the cop is closing in. The cop / Zandozan
Yeah.
is closing in on Beta, and yes, there's some shit going on with the girlfriend, because the girlfriend doesn't know about Beta yet, and so he's still struggling with the touchy-feely stuff that's going on under the blanket.
Yep.
And then they're having a bit of an argument.
Yes.
And then the cop turns up, overhears the Beta unit declare that I'm not really Alex.
I'm the Beta unit.
I'm the Beta unit. Takes a shot at him, shoots the Beta unit to prove to the girlfriend that he's a robot.
Yeah, so the girlfriend now knows he's a robot.
Which she immediately accepts.
Without hesitation. They jump in a pickup and start chasing the cop down the road.
The bad guy, Zandozan, runs off after that, and then they chase him.
Yeah. And so now we're back in space.
Yes.
And the Armada's going over the top of the asteroid.
Yes. And they come out.
And then there's a communication that comes in to Zur and on the command deck.
Yes. And that's the Zandozan.
It's an emergency communication from Earth.
Okay, so that's the Zandozan guy who's made it to his space mobile
pod.
phone. Yes.
And he says the last Starfighter
Is.
And then he's destroyed when Beta drives the pickup through the
Runs him over,
runs him
essentially.
over. It's vehicular manslaughter.
Yeah,
And
that's
suicide.
Yes. Yeah. And suicide, yes.
And so the Kodan,
Yep.
they're suspicious, but Zur is convinced that the message was going to say the last Starfighter is dead.
Exactly. So outside, a battle rages. Pew pew, space battle going everywhere.
Well, they blow the turret.
Yeah, sorry, they come out of the asteroid and they shoot the turret. Okay.
And so therefore the Kodan are pissed because that's a Starfighter.
That's right.
And Zur just said that they were all dead.
That's right. And they pick it up on the thing and they say, what's this on the radar? It's a Starfighter. A Starfighter? We thought they were all dead.
It's impossible. Seize him.
That's right. And so they go and grab him and he starts complaining.
Take him away.
Now, this is where they get into the thick of it. Our heroes, Alex and Greg, and they're shooting in spaceships and... I don't know, I guess there's probably still too many laser spaceships for their lasers to cope with.
Yep.
So they're going to have to do Death Blossom.
They have to wait for all of the ships to...
That's right, get in the radius.
Enter within the Death Blossom radius.
The kill zone.
Yep.
And then they press the red button and what happens?
Twirly girly.
All of the weapons sort of open up.
Yeah.
And it proceeds to shoot in every possible direction.
While spinning
Spin around so fast in every single possible direction. And it takes out everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the inside of the cockpit should be just covered in wall-to-wall vomit after...
or bits. Like human bits. And then it's got no power left. Right?
That's right, it uses up all its power.
While the mothership is heading straight for it.
That's right, and you see Kodan or whatever his name on the spaceship, and it's like, they've blown up all of our little spaceships. And the other guy says, well, that sucks. And so
ramming speed.
Ramming speed.
Any movie that's got the line ramming speed is usually a good film.
Yes, it gets at least a bonus 1 star from me. So, next is a little odd bit of the story as well. So they're now out of power because they've used up all of their power because they did the Death Blossom. But they only have one little bit of power left, and that's in the life support.
That's right. So we need to tap some wires,
We need to take the ship apart.
get some circuit boards out and tap some wires.
Yeah, yeah. Always.
And so they reroute the power from the life support to the engines or whatever, and that allows them to move out of the way. And they also happen to have enough power for the laser beams as well, and they shoot the spaceship, the giant spaceship that's attacking them.
Shoot it in the back, just like in the game.
Shoot it in the back, yes. And then what happens?
Crashes into
Crashes into a really small moon.
a moonoid.
Yes, a moonoid.
The scale, or it's the
Technical.
biggest ship, and we just didn't understand just how big that ship was.
Yes. It's like, no, but they did say the moon's gravity is pulling us in.
That's right.
Yeah, because the moon hasn't got much more mass than the spaceship itself.
Let's just say that the moon had a lot of mass. It was a lead moon,
Yeah.
a lead balloon.
That's right. It had
Maybe it was a,
very
maybe it was a neutron star.
dense core. on
Yeah,
that
dense
moon.
core, not particularly big.
Yeah.
About
So the bad
size.
guys all
Big
dead,
explosion.
Crash,
No,
and they're all
but
dead.
not all the bad guys are dead.
big explosion in space.
Yes.
Then we learned on 3D Studio Max. And
Yes.
the default install of the material editor
Uh-huh.
came with textures.
Yeah.
There was an explosion file,
Uh-huh.
and .avi.
Oh yeah.
Remember what that was called?
No.
It's a Hercules.
Was it?
Hercules.avi. I saw it
too,
many
actually.
times. Every time you wanted to use it, you took a plane, you put the Hercules.avi in it, and it didn't have an alpha channel, so it just used its color channel as its transparency, which means wherever the smoke is dark and dense, the Hercules would become transparent.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So, and I couldn't find it. I tried to find that old AVI in leading up to, because every single explosion that we see in this film is the same. It's always the same explosion.
Yep.
And it really reminded me of the one that we had with 3DS Max.
I know the
back
one you're
then.
talking about.
And I wanted to compare. I wanted to know if that is
It
just
could
that.
have
If
been.
it's just that's the one that they used for 1984
Yeah.
till 1994. That was the standard explosion film used
Like,
for all
what's
films.
the scream? What's the famous scream?
Wilhelm.
The Wilhelm scream. It's like
Yeah.
they just hand it around.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
So almost all the bad guys are dead.
Yes, Zua gets into a
Pod.
escape hatch thing, and we
He's
never,
out of there.
Yeah, see him again.
Which sort of leaves the door open for a sequel that never happened.
Yes, which they were
Well,
planning.
that was planned. Yeah,
never
yeah.
happened.
Yep.
All right, so that's the end of the movie, but needs to be the conclusion.
That's right.
To the movie.
Yeah.
So we get two conclusions in this movie. Bonus. The first conclusion is the
cheering in the
award ceremony,
Yeah.
essentially.
at the with thousands of screaming
Yeah,
Rylonians.
happy Rylonians and Oompa Loompas, all very happy, and they and Admiral Ardoon Duran is there,
That's right.
and he says, "Jolly good, well done."
You'll have to stay.
Yes,
You'll have to put together the new Starfighter
2.0.
2.0.
Yep.
And you won't have to do it alone because you have a friend right here. And who is it? Who turns up?
Oh yes,
Yes.
back from the dead. It's Centauri.
And he even does one of those voila.
Quickly puts on his face.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so Centauri is back, and I think he even gives some techno babble as to why he's not dead. I think his body had to spend 10 minutes
That's right. Rejuvenation.
rejuvenation or something or other. Bit like Doctor Who, actually.
So that was the first conclusion.
First conclusion.
Then we get our second conclusion
Mm-hmm.
with Maggie moping because the boyfriend that became a robot is now dead and she's alone and looking up at the stars wondering what's happening to Alex.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously everything that's alien is preceded by wind.
Yes.
So we feel wind and then we hear a spaceship and everyone comes running.
Yes, it's like the high score. It's like, hey, there's a spaceship
Well,
landing.
in this case,
Spaceship
it's
landing?
justified. There's a
Spaceship landing.
bleeding,
Yeah.
ruddy big spaceship just
Exactly.
landed in the middle of the park.
And Granny knew that because she brought her double barrel shotgun with her.
That was a nice touch. Would have been slightly better if she actually had it fired at it. Granny!
Fucking huge thing. It would have been taller than her. She was only a little thing. So
All right.
yes, there's the Starfighter What's the ship called?
Star Gun.
Gunstar.
Gunstar.
So the
Yes.
Gunstar lands
Yes.
in the car park of the cafe.
And it has a really cool lift where the pilot can come down and be like, and come down on the lift.
Yep.
Yeah, that's bloody awesome.
That only carries one person at a time because
And
they
it's
had to
really-
send the lift back up for Greg.
Yeah, and it's sufficiently backlit so that you're in shadows as you come
right.
down and you look bloody awesome.
Plus, your helmet fogs up somewhat awful.
Yes, that's right. to aid in the reveal.
Yes. So essentially, Alex turns up and he says, "Hey, Mags, we had this plan. We're going to get out of this shitty place and leave all these crappy people behind."
Instead of going to college, want to go to space.
And what's Maggie's answer?
Nah.
Nah.
I got to look after Granny.
Yeah. Granny here with a shotgun needs taken care of.
Yeah, exactly.
She does.
Well, yes, maybe she does. Yes, maybe she does. Somebody's got to hide the bullets.
So she thinks
So
about it. No, he's going to leave. He's going to leave
So
without her.
Alex says, "Sure you don't want to come?" She says, "No."
Yeah.
She says, "You sure?" No.
Greg meets everyone.
Yep, Greg.
Yeah.
Yep. How you
Then,
doing?
and now they've got to leave. But
Yep.
they never explain why they've got to leave, but they're in a hurry.
No, he does. He says in a hurry, and we can't fool their raiders for much longer or
Yes,
something.
Yes, that
There,
rings
there.
a bell.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's
Answer for everything?
a ticking clock. They've got to leave.
Yep.
And just when it looks like he's going to leave the girl, he doesn't get the girl in the end, Granny says, "I'm going to be fine. You
Yeah,
just go."
just right.
So she goes.
Yes.
Does the big leap onto the lift.
Now.
And Andrea, I watched it with my family. At that moment, Andrea says, "Oh, she's just leaving. Oh, she's going to be missing tampons."
Yeah, love it.
He just doesn't pack a toothbrush, nothing. Just jumps off in space. I'm assuming that everything I need will be wherever I'm going.
Yeah.
It's in space. Come on.
Yeah.
They have everything worked out in space. Yes. My question actually
From then on,
is...
I'm just
where
imagining
does
her.
she fit? Where's
Yes,
she
but that's my question. There are 2 seats.
Yeah.
What else is there? Like a locker somewhere, or it's like a boot? It's like just jump in the boot. Hold your breath though.
They just
Hold your
shot out
breath.
all. They have no more ordnance on board.
Yeah.
Maybe she just goes into
Yeah,
some.
she's in one of the missile tubes, kind of squished in there.
Guys.
Yeah, don't death blossom. yeah. They're like, do you want a death blossom just to freak her out?
So we see. I like the ending. I like the way they the very last sort of shot of the film is the little kid pulling over a chair because he's so small he can't reach the controls on the game. He pulls over a chair, stands up on it, and starts the game. And right at the start of the game is the Gunstar taking off, and he looks up, and the real Gunstar is taking off.
Only chance in your life you have a chance to experience that. So you got to run to the computer game so you can experience it.
I want it in stereo.
And that whole premise of he wants to go in the footsteps of the brother, and he can do that, I can do that sort of thing. I just need to play this game, and then roll credits.
We're done.
Yeah,
Good music.
a good soundtrack.
Good soundtrack.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish I could play it. Last time we played a soundtrack out of a film, we got blacklisted off YouTube.
Yes. So yes, it is kind of set up for a sequel. You can have Lewis do the journey of the hero next, and Alex has disappeared. And nobody knows where he is. We've got to go find Alex and have the 2 Last Starfighters.
Yeah, there's
and
heaps of stuff you could do. Yeah, you could.
I saw people thinking about a remake, and I was like, no, don't do a remake.
Yeah,
Don't do a remake.
don't reboot it.
If you're going to do it,
There
do
was-
another one.
Well,
and
there
do
was
it.
a sequel
Yeah.
planned, which was set to be 30 years after.
Do a sequel. Yeah,
There was
Yeah,
a
do a
sequel
sequel.
planned
Should do.
30 years later after this one, but then that was shelved.
There's so many people that have been interested in doing a sequel with this film, and we're talking big names. I got a feeling Spielberg was even throwing the idea around.
I think Spielberg couldn't even get the rights.
Well,
to
that's
do
the
this-
problem.
the
Everybody
sequel.
that wants to do something with it can't get the rights off the guy that wrote it.
What's his name? Starts
Batul.
with B. Batul.
Batul.
But I saw another little interview thing where he's like, "Ha ha ha! No, I'm not blocking it. You crazy people, you're all crazy."
Yeah, I reckon he's a madman.
But I don't know. If you've got the rights and Spielberg turns up on your front door and says, "I have $1 million I want to swap for your movie," what do you reckon?
Give him the film, you idiot.
Yeah.
There's some weird drama that's gone on over the years with the rider, and because so many people are interested in doing something with this property, and he owns. The rider actually has a lot of power in that scenario. It's his story, and therefore Starfighter, Gunstar, all these things, he owns all those things because they were in the story. So you can't have the movie without the things that he owns.
Yeah.
And so he's definitely the roadblock. Batul. And when he's in documentaries and stuff, there's a weirdness to him. He's not gone on and written anything else of note. I think he's only written 5 other films, and most of them are pretty bad. I think all of them are pretty bad. But he really knocked it out of the park with this one, yeah?
Yeah, I went. Is that actually an image of them making the thing?
Someone sitting at a where's the?
Because I was reading of them complaining 750,000 polygons for a Gunstar, and then they had multiple Gunstars in one of the shots, and then they couldn't tell whether they were facing forwards or backwards because all they had was wireframe renders, and sometimes they have the ships flying backwards or crashing through each other. And
this is Shelley Lake wearing a lovely denim on denim,
classic,
complete with 80s mullet.
Yes,
and this is Shelley Lake at Digital Productions in 1983. So yes, she is working on. You can see it there. You can see this is some kind of.
I can't recognise what that is an image of.
I think that's a Gunstar. Isn't this the engines? And
or maybe she's making parts of it and sticking them together.
She's modelling it.
Wow.
Now, this is not the computer that did the rendering. This is just in...
That was a Cray, wasn't it?
That was a Cray.
Yes, this is about half the size of the...
And in the documentary, they show what the Cray looks like.
And what does it look like?
It looks like, say, 5 fridges back to back with a sort of... an opening inside that you could actually... Like a little... place that you could stand in if you wanted to, and it has benches on the outside. It has comfortable sofa-like benches that you can sit on and in fact sleep on while you're waiting for the thing to do its rendering. There you go.
Oh yeah, wow.
That's a Cray.
It's obviously here in some sort of childcare centre as a fun climbing a piece of equipment now.
Yeah.
And that's what they would. You see, the top right is a guy sitting on the outside of that.
Yeah.
And one guy was explaining, and you could stand in the inside. And every time I would stand there, I would go, "Will I have children? Will they be normal?"
And the answer to that was probably no. This thing's probably radiating all sorts of shit out of it.
So it would be nice to have some stats on the Cray. Anybody?
The Cray supercomputer, man. Like you don't get any more powerful than that at that time.
Yeah, but some comparable stats on...
We did it. I swear we did it.
We did it in the older episodes, but I don't know if it was the Cray specifically. It was...
You didn't mention it back in that show.
Yeah,
I wasn't on the...
We had pictures of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cray supercomputer. Because we were talking about this mob, this digital productions.
Yeah.
One of the documentaries I recently saw was on the Voyager space probes, and this was 77, so only 7 years before this film. And they said the whole computing power that they used at the time to send these space probes off into infinity is comparable today, not with the computing power of your digital watch, but with your key fob.
Yeah, right. Wow.
To get in your car.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. 800 times less than... What was it? Was it a phone? 800 times less than a phone or something like that?
Totally. Phone is pretty darn advanced.
All right, gentlemen. So, do we buy, burn? Was it buy, burn, or borrow?
Bludge or anything that starts with B.
Yeah.
Or any other letter.
Yeah. I buy it. Like
I
bought it.
You did buy it, yes.
And I recommend the 25th anniversary edition of the Blu-ray release of The Last Starfighter.
On IMDb here, it's got 6.7, which is not too shabby.
I'd give it a bit more.
I'd think it's worth a little bit more than that too. And yeah, I'm definitely in the buy. I went for a hunt for merch and collectibles, and yeah, there's lots of stuff out there: helmets and guns and bits and pieces from the shoot characters, armor, all sorts of bits and pieces. And plus, there's also people making their own arcades and
you can get the plans to make the box, the unit.
Yeah, the arcade box.
And someone designed the game. Like you
I
can
know
even
that.
you can even use the game. It was a $15 million budget estimated, and I got a feeling of that was nearly 12 million was the computing stuff.
Yeah,
Oh, what's your feeling though? Because really, they spent all, as with all post production,
Yeah,
they spend all the money, and then the digital production comes at the end.
yeah.
And as we saw, they had to cut a lot of corners and they didn't have that much money left.
27 minutes of. So it wasn't 27 shots. It was in the 20s minutes of the film is digital,
There's a lot
This
in there.
film,
and that's huge.
that is a lot. I don't believe
it's huge.
that.
I only saw that this afternoon, and I didn't dig right into it.
If
It
you
was
told
a-
me 2.7 minutes, I would believe it.
No, there's more than
27?
that. There's more than that. Maybe not 27, but there's
because
more
all
than
of the flying car stuff,
the space battle at the end's quite
the
long.
space battle, the asteroid, the starbase, the hangar.
Yeah.
There was elements in
Even the car driving on
in the
Earth.
back, like force. What do you call it? Rear projection, like they would have done it and then reprojected into elements in the foreground. But according to Box Office Mojo, it grossed 28 million domestic.
I don't know if it made a big profit, but it was a slow burner, as they said in some reviews
well,
of it. That
Box
it went out
office-
to DVDs and DVD and VHS and had a huge long life.
exploded,
It just stayed.
Well, according to
Forever.
IMDb and to Box Office Mojo, it made 28 million.
Oh, okay.
Off a 15 million. Like it made 6 million in the opening weekend. It did pretty well.
I think I also read that it came out in 1984, and there's all sorts of amazing movies come out in that same year, like
I think
Indiana
Indiana
Jones, and I can't remember. There's a whole bunch of them that came out at the same time.
Maybe
So
Jedi came out in 84, did it?
No, it's
82.
82 or 83.
82,
yeah. So anyway, my verdict is yes, it's a buy. It's a buy. You want to. This is what you want to own. You want to have this on your shelf. It's a classic. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you, Tom?
Well, now that I have friends who are going to buy it, I can bludge it. But if I didn't, I'd buy it. Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's in the buy.
I think it's a timeless piece of sci-fi, and I think it's it deserves a high place in sci-fi as a genre. I got a feeling it's probably in the I put it in the top 5.
And it's fairly well constructed.
sci-fi?
in sci-fi movies. It's in my
Like
it's in my of all sci-fi films. I put this one in the top 5. But as I mentioned before, I got a real connection to it because of the computer graphics and the visual effects and that sort of stuff, and because I just watched it so many times when I was a kid. But yeah, I think it's flawless. Like the story beats in it just go bang, 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 bang.
That's what I was about to
There's
say.
no refuse. They didn't play that stupid friggin' game when you take somebody out of a fish out of water that we have to spend all the time. What's that thing? Oh, that's weird. You know, shells on the wall. The whole. You've got to describe everything. And that thing's because it's alien. That's that thing and whatever. They didn't do any of that. There was very little of that going on, except for the translator thing.
Yeah.
He was accepting of everything he was seeing and whatever.
It's that blatant expository dialogue.
Which is clever.
Yeah.
Which is what you would do if you were suddenly whisked away at an alien thing. You'd go, okay, right, new reality.
Yeah, and they even went back the other way. Grig says to Centauri right at the start there, up to your old Excalibur tricks.
The Sword and the Stone.
Oh, was that in the movie, was it? Was Excalibur... Excalibur was part of the story, the sort of the inspiration for the story, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and Grig says, an alien says that to another alien in the film.
This is what I was fishing for. Was Excalibur the test that they used for the other starfighters when they didn't use
Maybe.
I think there was something like that. If it wasn't Excalibur, it was something like a single
Maybe.
word that described the test that the other
challenge, the test.
to get those other starfighters in the
It could be.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right.
They do it a bit loosely with the acceptance of the new reality. One was when the beta sacrifices himself. Maggie has just learned that, okay, the guy that I have been with for a long time suddenly has a few noodles hanging out of his belly which look like cables, and then he commits suicide.
Yes.
And she goes, all right, well,
I accept that.
I accept that then, and the real Alex is out there somewhere, and I love him.
Yeah.
So that was a bit.
There are a few things like that.
There's a couple of
and
things
it did. They were, I think that's more in they're just being economical.
Yeah.
But yeah,
The guy that got his truck stolen and blown up, he was a little bit accepting at the end of the film as well.
There was no
I think
time
he
for him.
mentions it. I think he says, "Where's my truck?" But then there's no fisticuffs or anything.
No,
You'd be pretty
no.
pissy.
Alex has a big gun star. You don't pick a fight with a gun star.
Well, yeah, with it, and he's backed by an alien over there with
They both have side
laser guns.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. That is The Last Starfighter. And I'm not sure what we've got coming up next, but and we're not allowed to discuss the Star Wars trailer.
that's right. We can't.
Cool. So that's it for another week. Until next time, it's bye for me.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Victory or death.